Hey everybody, how's it going? We're here with a timeless reading. Welcome. I feel like the King of Swords wanting to come out, but instead we have the King of Cups. And the Nine of Cups. And the High Priestess. And Justice. Okay. I feel like remembering what's important to you is the way to go. Just because when the King of Cups comes out, there can sometimes be something disruptive that's going on. Having Nine of Cups next to it, Nine of Cups is a card of gratitude, it's a card of being thankful. It's also connected to like things that we want and whatnot, but I'm seeing it more so like needing to make sure that you put things into focus or put things into perspective if they're not. Especially because I'm seeing the moon and I'm seeing the High Priestess and I'm seeing Justice. This is the moon and this is Libra, and what this means is that because the moon can fluctuate and the moon is associated with like what I'm feeling in this moment, and when it's connected with emotions, it can sometimes be I'm feeling this all the way over here and it's temporary or momentary, and then I'm gonna like swing back to feeling over here. It feels like not maybe making a judgment call based off of a temporary emotion. And that's why King of Cups is coming out as an energy that is grounded. The energy of the King of Cups is you stepping into a position, you stepping into an energy, an archetype where regardless of what's going on, you are staying centered. That doesn't mean you're not feeling what you're feeling, but it means not going and then doing something that you end up looking at and feeling like, you know what, if I had thought that through, or if I hadn't only been seeing things through an emotional lens, I may not have done that. You know, it can be needing to be centered regardless of what's going on around you, and remember what's important and see the bigger picture too, because I see Nine of Cups as being that bigger picture of I'm not going to do something just impulsively in this moment that will then jeopardize things or have me losing focus of really what's important to me, you know, what really matters to me. And having High Priestess feels like needing to tune into that divine, wise part of yourself that knows how to keep things in check and knows how to keep things balanced. And having Moon here and having Libra here, it's that balance of your mind and your heart, and not teetering so far on one side that you're neglecting the other. It's about staying sort of in that middle lane, regardless of what's going on. Libra and Moon is about emotional balance too. That's also part of this. So here the King of Swords is coming out. I feel like this was the King of Swords that I was seeing before any cards came out. Having Ten of Swords and having King of Swords, there can be a discussion about something that happened, but you have to talk about it, you have to communicate about it in a way where you're not losing it when this conversation comes up. It feels like it's really important for you to sort of like stay intact. Moon and Libra feels, again, very important here. Libra is about being diplomatic with the way that you're doing something, and it feels like doing something that you're emotionally involved within, where compromise, collaboration, you even just doing things in a way where it's received the way that you're coming across, the way that you're handling this, when it can be difficult to be in that centered space because the moon fluctuates, because it's like, I'm feeling like this, then I'm feeling like that. it feels like Libra is going to bring things back into the center, connecting with that archetype, connecting with that aspect of your energy. So while something for some of you is being negotiated, while something is being discussed, and this feels like something is being discussed that has already taken place. This isn't something that's actively happening anymore. So there can be events that are being spoken about that have already taken place. But can be challenging things that were gone through. Having to talk about this for some reason. Even if it's just to say, I don't want to go through that again. 8 of Cups. I want to move in the direction of growth rather than things that get cauterized and aren't going anywhere. This conversation can also be like, hey, that thing happened, you know, I'm figuring stuff out about that. I'm communicating my thoughts and my feelings about it and what's also being communicated too. I wonder as well if this is like letting that go because it's not a thing anymore. Like if 10 of Swords is there, it means something has already happened. So it's not happening in the present moment. Having King of Swords and having 8 of Cups here can be needing to focus on like what you have right now and also where you want to go, and knowing that something, it feels like having to come to terms with something that's happened already, but it may be something that you keep sort of thinking about, you keep staying within. Because King of Swords is something that, like, you're trying to make sense of something. You want to understand something. You've been thinking about something. And it feels, again, like it's this thing that, like, had already happened. But maybe because of the intensity of going through that, it's something that sort of stayed with you and you haven't let it go. Because you can feel like I've still been maybe getting something from it. But now at this point, you can feel like it's a bit redundant. And I feel like even before this is maybe communicated with another person, needing to see that, like, me staying stuck within this, I'm not going to get anything that I need out of this, so I can really let this go and move forward towards growth, opportunity, you know, what can happen rather than what didn't happen. Because this is feeling like I'm stuck on this thing. You can even find yourself, like, I keep repeatedly talking about this thing that happened. I just keep repeating myself, repeating the same story over and over and over again. And it's like stuck in that thing that it's not in the present moment anymore. It's like very stuck in the past with this. And until there's this conclusion that one comes to of letting this go, just feels like something that hasn't been integrated, and so it's still sticking with you. It's like still talking about that thing that happened 25 years ago, you know, and still just repeating the narrative again and again and again because it's still not processed through, because of feeling like you're still sort of like milking this or getting something out of it. Having King of Cups here, maybe therapy is needed, you know, like maybe it doesn't have to be therapy, but it can be something where like maybe you need some emotional guidance going through this because you're unable to let this go, or you just haven't figured out how, or you still need to make sense of it. But it feels like it may not be allowing you to see how things are presently, you know, like based off of this thing that happened, it feels like I'm still stuck in that time when that was occurring, and I have not caught up to the present moment. I am not present. It feels very much like that. But then seeing Knight of Cups and seeing King of Swords feels like I need to realize like what I have. I need to realize what I have around me. I need to like see things, you know. It feels like if you could catch up to the present moment, there would be so many things to feel so grateful for. And you can feel like you still have not gotten to that place of being able to appreciate what's around you. And it doesn't have to mean like in a whole general sense. It can just be like maybe within a certain relationship, or maybe having to do with a particular cycle. Like maybe you've moved on in other ways, but emotionally this is still something that's being held on to. Having King of Cups can be somebody that helps guide you through it if you feel like you're just not able to do that yourself. King of Cups can be somebody that helps you navigate things psychologically and emotionally so you can actually release this thing that happened. Because it did happen, it's not happening anymore, but you can feel like emotionally, like that has not been realized yet. You haven't been caught up. And even though logically you can say, I know that I'm not actually in that situation anymore, emotionally it feels like you stopped there and didn't move past that point. So yeah, this can be like something that you're going into to try to figure out. It can be a really great time if you need to get help for this, that you can be getting help. You can be going to somebody that can help guide you through this process and help you to understand it, help you to catch up to the present moment, and also recognize too that living in the past, you may come to the conclusion that it's going to be much more fulfilling and much more in resonance for you to come into the present moment and for you to leave that behind and let it go. When I say let it go, it doesn't mean like I need to forget that ever happened. It's more so like you can feel like you're not exploring the rest of your life after that thing happened, and that you're just stuck there repeatedly again and again and again and again, like talking about it, looking for validation about it, whatever it is that you've been doing. And it feels like what's going to happen is that it's going to occur to you that life can feel so much better coming into the present moment. Because I get this sense that this thing has been ruminated on, regardless of when it happened. Like for some of you, this can be something that happened a long time ago. For others of you, it can feel like it was just yesterday, because of still energetically being within that. What it feels like is that this hasn't been like integrated yet. It hasn't been maybe like spiritually and emotionally integrated yet with the moon being here. You can feel like this is happening sort of compulsively because of feeling like there's still something that you need to understand, or still something that you need validated, or still something that you need to gain from that. So there's this attachment to that past thing. Because maybe too, this is something where there's some type of validation that you can get from this that feels good, even though you're like, yeah, it's painful to hold on to it, but I get to keep talking about it, and there can be this, having the moon here, it can speak about these patterns that we get into, that we get familiar with, that we become comfortable with. And even though you can look at it and be like, from a rational perspective, I can see that it's painful to hold on to it, and why would I hold on to something on purpose that's painful? But it just feels like there's something that still hasn't fully come together with your like mentality about this, or your psychology about this, and then also what's going on an emotional and spiritual level. Like something hasn't fully come together yet. What it looks like is that there's an opportunity now that's presenting itself to you, and it feels like it can rectify this. And as much as you can look at that and be like, how can that possibly be rectified? To have justice here, it very much seems like that can actually happen. Like there's an active opportunity, there's an active possibility for this to be rectified, for things to come back into a place of balance, especially emotionally, having the moon here. Before you try to intellectualize this further, having King of Cups and having Nine of Cups, this is about in the present moment thinking like, what do you want? What is your heart communicating with you? It can also be a time too where you get more into gratitude, and this can be about like the things that you do like that are going on, the things that you do have, the stuff that you do enjoy, and sort of get lost in that for a while, rather than that thing that you didn't like how that happened, or just like that type of stuff. It feels like there's been something that's been going on where there's been this focus on like the loss and on the negativity, and there can be, which there's nothing wrong with that, but as far as this process, you can look at a situation and say, I can go through this in a way where it can be much more enjoyable for me, and I can actively prefer that, and that can be integrated into my experience. Or you can go through this in a way where your experience is going to be focusing on what you don't prefer, what you didn't like, what didn't happen, how you think things should have gone and they didn't actually, and being in that very hypothetical space where there's still a lack of acceptance. And because this has not fully been accepted, there's still an issue with it, and so it's still being brought back up and it has not been let go of. And it's like not allowing things to be made right, not allowing things to be rectified actively. Having Justice here and having Ace of Wands feels like there is an opportunity now that can be growth focused, that can be potential focused, that will allow you move into the present moment rather than being caught up on this thing and stuck there. And that is the potential now. That is where things are going. That is where things are moving to. I wonder too, having Wheel of Fortune on the bottom of the deck can mean that opening your mind is going to have to happen. It can mean like learning new things is going to have to happen. And it can be learning new things like learning healthy coping strategies, or additional coping strategies, or how to work with yourself psychologically, how to work on your health and your wellness. It can be that type of thing. It can be how to work on being in the present moment, how to work on integrating things, how to get into a state of acceptance, how to release the past. Not in a way of forgetting, but in a way of accepting, so things can be integrated, so it's no longer that thorn in your side anymore, that like every chance you get continuing to talk about it. And that can be like a bit of an exaggeration, it can just be like something that most of the time unconsciously, like not realizing, I keep ruminating on that and I'm on this repeat, because this isn't the type of thing where you're like, yeah, I just want to hold on to something painful, it doesn't feel like a choice. But when you get deeply enough into this, you're going to see how you can actually change things, how you can shift things, and it doesn't have to be this on repeat, and there can be a sense of awareness that's brought into the present moment. But there can also be a part of you that, even if it's unconsciously, there can be a part of you that feels like you're benefiting from holding on to this rather than allowing things to come back into a place of balance, rather than allow this to be rectified. Because you can feel like maybe that attention that you never got, or feeling neglected in some type of way, having this to carry with you is like every time I need that validation, or every time I want that attention, every time I'm seeking this thing, I can bring this up and I can get that, or I can just get that reassurance, or I can just get that, but it feels like a compulsion to continue within the cycle and to continue thinking in this way, and to actively, again, in an unconscious way, I'm getting a benefit from holding on to this painful thing, and I've convinced myself, even if it's unconscious, that it's more beneficial for me to hold on to this past thing that's painful to hold on to, rather than allow things to be rectified, which it feels very much like there's an opportunity again for it to happen now. Having the Ace of Wands, but you can feel like you're not growing past this point, and that if you're going to grow past this point, you're going to have to come to the conclusion, and it's going to have to be a conscious thing, that there's nothing for you to gain from that would weigh more and be more important and be more in resonance than what's in the future. I think too that, when we hold on to something like this, there can be this thought of maybe that'll give me what I need, like let's just say, for example, like looking for reassurance, or like seeking that sense of validation, or that like attention that wasn't given because you could have felt like there was neglect, or you were treated unfairly, something happened. There's a part of you that's like using this to try to like fulfill that space within you that feels like I need that thing. But it feels like a cycle where it's it's like not able to get enough of it because it doesn't quite work. It doesn't quite satisfy what you're looking to satisfy. And so it's like again and again and again, like the hamster on the wheel. And it feels like there is opportunity for you to actually get what you're looking for, but it's going to be in the present moment and aligned with where you're going. It's not going to be in the past. And that's also something that you're coming to terms with. But this is taking it feels like some really deep shadow work that's happening here. Shadow work meaning like psychological work that's happening, like light meaning consciousness and awareness that's being brought to unconscious patterns and why we hold on to the things that we hold on to. So yeah, if there's this, grew up in a certain situation where there was something that you felt like you needed and you didn't get, this thing that happened, that was a painful thing that happened, it feels like by bringing it up, by talking about it, by even just thinking about it, by keeping it sort of in that mental space and emotional space for you, there can be this unconscious thought of, if I think about it enough, if I talk about it enough, if I get like this amount of validation for it, it'll then feel like it can finally be integrated, but that never happening because that's not the way that's going to happen. And it can only happen in like moving forward with things and by coming into the present moment, but being stuck on that track again and again. It's like you can never get enough of something that almost works, and it like almost works, but it doesn't really, and so you can never release it, and it's just gonna stay like that. And then getting to the point of that being realized, and then being able to move forward after that point. But all of this having to come to light first before that can even happen. Of like the real rectifying of this is going to happen, but you're gonna have to move forward from that point. Like you're gonna have to come into the present moment. And you can feel very much like when you're ruminating on that, you're not in the present moment. And it's not currently happening, so it's not a present thing. It can be a present thought that's happening, but it feels very much like this fixation on anything other than being present. So even just practices that bring you into the present moment can be a start of working with this. And for those of you that may be seeking some type of counsel or guidance, because we have Libra here and because we have the moon, this can be somebody that, and also the King of Cups, this can be a book that you read. It can be a guide that helps you work through this. It can be a counselor that you start going to, something like that can help you work with this and work through that balancing of the heart and the mind. And yeah, it seems very much like there is now a door, there's now an opportunity, there's now an opening for you to move in that direction, and that's going to satisfy what you've actually been like trying to do here. This is also something that's going to empower you emotionally too, I'm seeing, because it feels like it's going to put you into a place where there's this feeling of capability and needs being met emotionally, and that being the direction that you're going into, where it's not going to feel like I lack, or like I don't have what I need, or I don't have what I want. This is going to allow you to be in that place with yourself where you're not feeling like anything is missing anymore. And so that seeking is going to stop happening. But it's not going to go away on its own. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I am sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.